love. It's just me, Emily. Welcome to my show where we explore how to discover your soul's purpose, embody your essence, and live a life in alignment with your truth. Today, I am joined by Jordan Arogeti. She is the co-founder and CEO of SupportNow. SupportNow is a phenomenal organization that connects people who want to support families during their toughest times. I have personally worked with Jordan and tried to share more about her organization because I found myself in a horrible situation after my husband died. And I really leaned on my community to support me. And her whole platform is what this is about. Instead of just giving cash and casserole to people who are in need, it provides an array of services. As far as like showing up and raking leaves, mowing the lawn, doing the laundry, bringing groceries, whatever it is, in whatever way that you can help. It's just about connecting supporters to people who need it most. So we dive into SupportNow, how Jordan kind of fell into this work, how she discovered that it was her calling. We also talk a little bit about her past as a female in sales and tech, and some of the innovative work that she did there to kind of change the paradigm around maternity leave. Jordan is an absolute force. She has a TEDx talk, and she's just this visionary human being who really who just lives in integrity with who she is. Because I think what you'll find in our conversation is that Jordan knows herself at her core. She knows what she believes in, and she uses this as her compass for manifesting a life beyond her wildest dreams. So I hope you listen and that something gets inspired and ignited within you. And I hope that you enjoy the show. All right. Well, welcome to the show, Jordan. I'm super pumped to be chatting with you, not just about SupportNow, but a little bit more about you as an individual and kind of what brought you to this work.
Sounds good. I'm ready for a full-on therapy session. Bring it on.
Yes, let's go. Let's go. All right. Well, then we're just going to dive right into that one. So I start every episode with this one. What are the masks that you think you wear? And when you take them off, what do you see?
What are the masks I think I wear? Oh, I think the mask that I wear is that I have it all together.
It's a common one.
Yeah. The mask is that the quote, I've got it all. The family, the business, the loving relationship, the family. And I do have those things. And when I take that off, there's always more layers to what you see. And there's always more challenges. There's always more stressors and anxiety than I think people ever put off, including myself.
Totally.
And I've done a lot of digging on this throughout my life. Like, why am I this way? And I think you and I could connect on this idea of just always presenting for others and that mindset. And that's very hard to take off and to shift and to almost like relearn. And I'm getting better at it. And I think I get better at it as I become more of myself in motherhood. Because as I raise my children, I realize that I don't want them to feel the way that I have like grown as an adult to feel. And that's, to some degree it's nurture, right? And so, to some degree it's nature. And most often it's a combination. So all that being said, I would say that's probably the biggest mask I wear.
Yeah, it's so common, I think, in our society, the mask of having it all together. And when we take it off, it's like, this sigh of like, we're all human, we're all messy, we're all broken. And it's a hard lesson to learn. And I think we're all collectively learning how to just be more vulnerable and more human with one another.
Totally.
So I love that. So one of the masks you wear or roles you wear is as the founder and CEO of SupportNow. So I want to start off by just, can you give us a little bit of a overview of what is SupportNow for our listeners?
Sure, of course. So my husband and I started SupportNow a couple of years ago. I am very honest that unlike yourself, unlike many of the families we serve, I don't approach this company from the perspective of someone that has been through tough times. I, of course, have had my fair share of losses, but all very natural. I haven't had a traumatic moment. I haven't had a crazy diagnosis for myself or someone I love, knock on wood.
Yeah.
The whole idea of SupportNow really came out of COVID. And what happened in COVID was I felt like I was 1 degree removed from someone going through something very challenging, whether that would be a baby in the NICU, a cancer diagnosis, a house fire, a sudden loss. And in that year, I really observed not just my own response, but the response of the friends and family around me, the community. And I came up with this funny phrase that we live in a culture of cash and casseroles. And what I found so interesting in those times is I would get the news, and it was like deja vu. Whenever you would hear the news, within 5 minutes to call it an hour, you're on a text chain with a group of other women, and everyone's asking the same question. What can I do to help? What can we do? Do they want money? Do they need meals? Should we send flowers? Da, da, da. And it's just chaos.
Yeah.
And so I joked about this idea of cash and casseroles because that was instinctively the first options that people thought of.
Mhm.
And when I would actually sit with my friends or family members that were walking this tough time, they would say, it's been so helpful, but I wish people understood that what I really need is like fill in the
Mm.
walking the dog, childcare, prayer, visitation, right? Like a list of very practical things that people like myself and my friends wanted to do, but really it wasn't presented in a way that we felt like that we could do that. So then I just started thinking, I'm like, I wonder why we are so conditioned to give money and to send meals.
Mm.
And my background is in technology and in sales. And what I started realizing is that we're really conditioned by the tools that we're presented. So GoFundMe has made it normal to give money.
Yeah.
Train has made it normal to send meals. And that's great. And it is not the totality of the types of things that people need. And so I became obsessed with this idea. And my husband, who is very entrepreneurial, much more entrepreneurial than me, who had for years said to me, we're going to build something, we're going to build something. We finally came to this realization that we could build something around this idea that there should and can be a better way for friends and families to rally together to support their loved ones as they navigate what we call major life moments. That in SupportNow terms means obviously the opportunity to give money, to send meals, to share updates, but to also do the laundry list of other things that support means, which means volunteering time. And again, that can be a handful of things that I mentioned earlier. And so at its core, SupportNow, it is a free tool that families or friends of families can set up on behalf of someone that's going through something. It actually doesn't always have to be sad, by the way. We just tend to see more of the sad things.
Yeah.
And then in addition to that, over the last year, we've also built SupportNow Connect, which is the largest database of active sortable grants on the internet. So these two tools combined are really designed to allow us to wrap our arms around families to show them that we really care. We really care about them, not just getting the support they need from their community, but also finding the funding needs they're looking for beyond their community, because often there's a lot of money out there for families. They just don't know where and how to find it.
Yeah, I love that last piece too, because some people don't have the communities, right, to lean on. And so they might have to go somewhere else to find that funding.
That's right.
Obviously, I've worked, with you guys from kind of the initial days. And I love your mission because I myself have found myself when life has been turned upside down and just really needing that support. And I couldn't agree more in terms of the issue around, the cash and the casseroles. Like, yes, it's nice. And I'm so grateful. And take my kids, mow my lawn, help me figure out the logistics of loss. And so I love how your platform really enables people to help out in a way that is aligned for the person who needs help and for the person giving it, because not everyone, is going to give that support in the same way.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. You said something really interesting, though, that I wanted to kind of touch on. And you said that sometimes our conditioning is based off of the tools that we have available. I've never really thought about that. Um, yeah. And it's kind of like you're like this big disruptor in the scene in terms of how do we support people
That's right.
and so I can imagine that's a difficult position to be in when you're disrupting kind of a system and trying to create a new vision for how we support people. Were there any challenges, obstacles, fears, doubts as you were beginning this venture with your husband?
There were and there continue to be lots of fears, concerns, doubt, uncertainty, and all the highs and lows. There's a famous quote by Henry Ford that if he would have asked people what they wanted when he was building the car, the modern day car, they would have said a faster horse.
Yes.
And so much of our mentality at SupportNow is this idea that we both accept that people are comfortable with the tools that they have currently, and we want to stretch that where it's like, okay, you're comfortable with it, and like, can we all recognize that that's not enough, especially for our friends in grief, especially
Right.
for people that are really struggling with the day-to-day things. And I've learned this from you, Emily. The difficult part of grief isn't just the big days, the birthdays, the anniversaries. It's actually all the moments in between. And so as supporters, we miss out on opportunities to really support people in those ways, in those in-between moments, because there's no tools and communication really facilitating that.
Yeah.
And so, yes, there are lots of fears, concerns, doubts, uncertainty. Launching a company against, three very well-known, I would argue in some ways like household names, is extremely
Right.
hard. And what it signals to me is that there's a huge market. Right.
Mhm.
So as a business owner, I don't look at our task as, oh, you need to become the number one player in this space. No, I'm not trying to help families that are raising money for soccer ball fundraisers, right? I'm trying to help families that are going through a very distinct and clear, tough time because I know we can serve them better. And so it is very important to us that we stay focused on our core mission, which is serving families better. Like that is what we want to do. We want to be able to say to families that we have the best tools, the best resources, so that not only can your community support you, but that you have all the support you need, not just in this moment, but in longevity. Because as we all know, particularly in grief, and grief broadly speaking, not just loss, it is so important that communities realize that you can't fade. People love to rush at the point of diagnosis or at the point of loss.
Mhm.
They can't fade. And
Yeah.
this just gives people an apparatus to stick around.
I love that. So what I'm hearing you say is basically whenever the fears, the doubts, the struggles, all the obstacles that you've probably walked yourself through come along, you really just connect back to your why, to your mission, to the long-term vision and say, LFG, we're doing it because I believe in this.
Yeah, I mean, like I think anyone who's an entrepreneur, yourself included, you have to be a dreamer. You have to see things that other people can't yet see. I mean, I know that there are plenty of people in my circles and pockets that are like, what are you doing? Like this space has been occupied for so long. Like, what do you think you're doing here? And it is crazy. And I see so many examples throughout my life, throughout like lifestyle. I look at examples, like I said before, of like the Henry Ford. I look at Blockbuster and Netflix. I look at the way Apple came out of nowhere and BlackBerry is effectively extinct.
Yeah.
There are examples all around us.
Yeah.
Do I have fears, concerns that I'm not the person that to like lead us in that charge? Yeah, every day. I'm like, I don't know that I am capable of that. And one quality about myself that I do think helps me is I'm not afraid. I don't stand on this, like, I have the humility to know that it's okay to ask for help. Right.
Yeah.
So when people say, how are you going to do this? And how are you going to scale? And how are you going to, it's like, well, I'm going to hire a whole bunch of smarter people than me. And I'm going to have them present to me ideas and thoughts on how they can do that, because it doesn't have to be my idea in order for it to be great. So,
Yeah.
it's ultimately, it comes back to this belief that there's just a better way. And at this point in our journey, we have 50,000 users in our system. We've raised close to $3 million for families. We have thousands of happy customers that are telling us that this experience is incredible and that they'll never go back to using the tools that they were once presented, which is great. And as a business owner, I think there's a couple of things that you look for in your company that tells you kind of that you're on the right track, which is, one, does your product work? And two, do you have happy customers?
Yeah.
And if you have those two things and you have money to like fund and continue, great. And
Hell
so
yeah.
we will press on. And listen, the path in entrepreneurship and startups, everyone likes to think it's like this.
Yeah.
Or I don't know how people are watching this recording. Or okay.
Yeah. The straight and narrow path to success.
It's like this. It's
Yeah.
like this. Again, I'll give another example. People like to talk about NVIDIA, which is like one of the most profitable company on the planet that was close to bankruptcy, right? And then you a couple of things happen, and now it all falls into place. Think of all the COVID businesses that were pretty much dead, and COVID actually gave them a lifeline, like made them. So there are certainly things that you can control in terms of your messaging, your product positioning, all of that stuff that we focus on. But we also recognize that there are some external factors that we can't yet see. You just got to stay in the game. You got to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And you have to have the confidence to know that we're doing something different. We're doing something better. And that, honestly, that pulls me through so many of the hard days where I'm like, oh, the doubt. But then you get, that customer testimonial saying, you're helping us through my dad's brain cancer, or gosh, I don't know what I would have done without you guys when my baby was in the hospital. And that's the energy you use to keep pushing forward.
I love this, Jordan, so much. And there's a couple different things here. I heard you kind of say, like, lengthen the time horizon. Remember that growth isn't straight and arrow. It's cyclical. It's all over the place. And it's really, humility, hiring a team. It's not all about you. It's about the people that you're serving in the product. And I think because I've been studying purpose now for a long time. This podcast is a lot about purpose. And I think when we're speaking of purpose, I think it's twofold. Is kind of what's in it for me, because I need to do something that does light me up and uses my inherent gifts and strengths in a way to then serve the collective.
Right.
So I hear you on you are fully in the vision of how am I going to change the way that we support people at an individual level, at a collective level, right? Visionary, totally disrupting the system. And so what about for you? What fills your cup about this? And I'm curious to hear about your beliefs in the divine, but divine using you as an instrument to do this work.
Yeah. So it's funny. I've thought about this actually quite a bit. And this kind of goes back to your first question about the mask. So I'll answer this question a couple of different ways. I am motivated by three things. And it's not always in this order. I'm motivated to provide a life that I feel very proud of, meaning being able to travel, being able to afford to do certain things that provide experiences to me and to my family. That's certainly a part of it. I'm motivated by making my parents proud. And I'm motivated by making my kids proud. And one of the really unique opportunities that SupportNow presents is that I think a lot of people seek professionally, not everyone, but a lot, is this really unique opportunity to both help people and to make money at the same time. Like in a very real way. The more families we help, the better we do.
Yeah.
And it's very amazing. Like our incentives are completely aligned with the amount of people we can help, which is incredible. Like that
Yeah.
feels so good. We all, people ask us all the time, are you a nonprofit? No, we're not a nonprofit. We're a for-profit for good, because we actually believe that by being a for-profit, we can serve people better. We can serve them faster. We can build quicker towards the things that they're actually needing. And
Yeah.
so I would say, like, and I've thought about this a lot. Like I have an incredible relationship with my parents, with my children, like blessed, like doesn't even begin to describe how I feel about all of them. And I still very much am in this mindset of like wanting to make them proud. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then, I do think that who I am as a person born, like I'm Jewish, and a lot of the values in Judaism are around tikkun olam, which is to make the world a better place, or tzedakah,
Mm.
which is charity. And and there's another phrase in Judaism called lador vador, which is just a Hebrew term for generation to generation. These are like very deeply entrenched in my,
Mm. I feel
and
that.
yeah, and I do think that in so many ways, this company just allows me to actually like use those values that have been instilled in me since I was born,
Yeah.
and to share that with the rest of the world. And so there is something, I would say, both very tactical, purposeful, and there's also something very, very deeply rooted in all of this. That is why, you kind of brute through the tough days and just say, keep going, keep going, keep going, because at the end of the day, whether Support Now is a commercial success or not, I feel great about the example that I'm setting for my children. And I feel excellent about the way that I'm leaving this world, knowing I did the best I could. Did the
Yeah.
best I
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what I'm hearing from you is like you're living in alignment with your core values, the things that matter to you. And it is cool. Like, I do think that there's divinity at play here for you, and whether we subscribe to that or not, but it's like you're literally just living your support now just feels like it's a very natural extension of who you are, because there's a lot of different ways that you can go about supporting people. Maybe if you were more of an artist archetype, you're going to go like have charity fundraisers with and sell your art. Or maybe you're more of an advocacy gal and you're going to go and like change the way that, I don't know. I don't know what that would look like necessarily, but like you have a business mind, you're an entrepreneur, and it's like there's a problem and I'm going to solve it, and this is how it was birthed through you, which I think is just so cool.
Yeah, it is. Like, I do feel like Support Now is an extension of who I am. I think most people that look at what I'm doing now, they're not like, what? I could never. I think they're like, yeah, that makes sense. Like people I went to high school with, people I was in sorority with,
Yeah.
people I went to elementary school with. I think they're certainly like, wow, you're going for it, and like that is impressive.
Yeah.
Right? Anyone can have like a certain morality and drive, but to actually do it, to like say,
Do
like
it.
I'm actually gonna like put myself out here and I'm gonna try to do it. That's different. But I don't think anyone's sitting here like, I just never thought you would do this. I think most people, even my parents, sometimes I get mad at them. They'll say things to me like, I'm just not surprised. And I'm like, okay, well, how about just like, great job? Like, like, just get the compliment. And I joke about that with them because, obviously they're the closest they've watched me since birth. So some of the things that I'm
Well,
doing now, they're like, yeah, this is
here's
good.
here's the caveat though. With the mask, it's like, of course they thought you were going to do it because you had it all together. But inside, you're like, this is scary
This is
AF,
so
and part of
hard.
my
Yeah.
training, and then,
Totally.
yeah,
And I was an athlete in high school, and my dad, I'm very open with them about like my stress, my anxiety, the things that keep me up at night. We're an open book. And I've told them that my dad used to say on the basketball court, I'm a huge basketball fan. I'm named for Michael Jordan. So that's my fun fact. That's normally what gets people like, oh, that's funny. But he used to say that you always made it look easy. Like, so like I didn't sweat a lot. I didn't get like a big red face. He was like, you made it look easy. And I was like, I feel like this is like symbolic of my whole life. It's like, it's not easy. It's not easy at all. And I will say though, I one thing I am very proud of myself for is I have taken care of my mental health like basically my whole life. I've gone to therapy. I've talked to my parents about the things that I struggle with them or with other relationships. I'm not afraid of those conversations at all.
Yeah.
And that has definitely helped me through a lot of difficult moments. And again, I don't try to claim that I have some crazy sad saga story. I really don't. COVID was the hardest thing I went through. I had an 18-month-old toddler and a newborn in the first 2 weeks of COVID, and that really tore me down. That really, really tore me down. And I'm not sure I have ever truly recovered from that. And so it was really in 2020 where I realized I've got to continue to make this a priority if I'm going to be the person that I can be, and so I can reach the potential and that fulfillment that I want to feel every day when I wake up.
Life can get hella complicated. We chase success, we hustle for money, we strive to make an impact. We juggle the day-to-day responsibilities, and we try to make everyone else around us happy. But at the end of the day, does any of this actually matter? I can't answer that question for you because what truly matters is different for everyone. There is no formula, no blueprint, no checklist for a life well lived. But the one thing we all share is a limited amount of time to live it. And that's why I think facing your mortality is the key to unlocking a life that truly matters. Death is a mirror. When you confront the fact that this all ends, the noise fades away. The ego-driven shoulds, the societal pressures, and the endless to-do lists suddenly don't seem so important because facing your mortality isn't about fear. It's about freedom. It's about waking up, cutting through the distractions, and making choices that actually align with your soul. That's why I created YOLO, a 3-part transformational experience designed to help you engage with your mortality so that you can actually start living. You only live once. Are you ready to make the most of it? If so, head to the link in my show notes or go to www.IamEmilyBingham.com/YOLO. I love that. And thanks for being really honest and open about that. You also said something really important about, I haven't had like a major like trauma or something, and I think a lot of people tend to do this. We minimize what we're going through because it's not like a big T trauma, like a loss or a abuse or something, right? But it's like everything is subjective and there's no hierarchy of suffering and it all is valid. And if you need help, it's like, yes, the fact that you can like bring awareness to it, have the vulnerability to open up and find the courage to say, okay, like I need some support here. That's huge. And I hope that every listener really like takes that in because we've all got something.
Yeah, we do. We do all have things. I think I'm very sensitive to clarifying these things because of the line of work that I'm in. I think people expect, oh, she must have gone through something significant to have to build something like that. And so I've gotten actually that advice a couple of times. Like, don't do that. Like, don't minimize. Like you've been through, you're experiencing life as you, and that comes with ups and downs. That's something I could definitely get better at. But I'm just so sensitive to the fact that so many of the families that we support that are using SupportNow, I can't relate. I can sympathize, but I can't empathize.
Yeah. And I think the distinction is like, it's like they can have their experience and man, like I cannot even imagine. And there is like a hierarchy, right? Like I could say that, well, I don't know. It's kind of funny. Like, is my husband's death worse than someone's son being addicted to, dealing with an addiction or something, right? It's like there is no hierarchy, but I think the key is that pain is pain and someone else's experience doesn't take away from our own. Like we all get to have our own.
Right. And I think, and to what you're saying, I think what's important is even if that pain doesn't look the same, it still deserves it still deserves attention. You shouldn't and I think that's what you're saying. And I think as again, I told you, this is like open therapy for me. It's like, just because I can't relate to what it's like to lose a husband at a young age doesn't mean the anxiety and the fears that I have, that I've had to navigate should go unmonitored.
Totally.
It's like,
and it can invite in a perspective of like, gratitude too. Like I remember when Ian died, I was like, well, it could be worse. I could have lost my entire family.
Right.
I could, right? And so it's like, okay, like my life still fucking sucks right now. and I'm okay. Like,
Right.
perspective.
Totally.
So yeah, I get what you're saying. It's nuanced. It's
It
more
is
nuanced
nuanced. It
than,
is nuanced.
yeah.
And I think the difference between being super emotionally intelligent in that way is just understanding nuance. Like I am such a big believer that like multiple things can be true at the same time, right? Like we have to create space for like all the things. And I see this professionally too. It's like, wow, this is really, really hard. And wow, this is super fulfilling. And wow, this could be incredible. And wow, this could fail. Like all of those emotions, all of those things run through my brain within like a 5-minute span every day. And that's also what makes it healthy, because if you're only living in one of those feelings and one of those thoughts, it's unrealistic. Like something's going to break. Something's gonna
Totally. I love it. And that's such a gift and a practice to learn how to hold it
right.
all. Like we haven't been taught to do
Yeah.
that. So,
Yeah.
Jordan, I want to like go back into your life in tech and sales. And I read a little bit on your TEDx, which by the way, yes, there's a TEDx talk. You did a TEDx talks, like celebrating you on that. That's a
Yeah.
huge accomplishment.
Yeah.
But I saw that you at your last company, you like started maternity leave, or you changed the maternity leave policy. So I'm just curious, like, you're a woman in tech. What was that like? And obviously, you're seeing some gaps in
Yeah.
the maternity leave. Like, can you tell us a little bit about that experience and what that was like for you?
Sure. So I hadn't sold anything in my entire life. I got an incredible opportunity when I was living in New York. I live in Atlanta. I'm from Atlanta. I live in Atlanta now, but I lived in New York for a couple of years. Had an incredible opportunity when I moved back to work for a technology company here. It was a very early stage company. They hadn't gotten their Series A funding yet, meaning for non kind of techie people. It just means it was still considered like a pretty like high risk company, like not a sure thing. And I wanted to get my feet wet. So I told them, I've never sold anything, but I can promise you 3 things. I can promise you that I'll work really hard. I promise I'll bring a great attitude. And I promise that I'll be the most coachable employee you have. I wanted to get into sales. I wanted to see if I could do this. Long story short, they hired me. My job for the first year was what they call a sales development rep, an SDR. Some people call it a BDR. And it was the sexiest job in the world. You cold call all day long. You make 100 calls. Sometimes you make 100 calls a day. 100 calls a day. I mean, truly hundreds of calls every week. And these cold calls that you make, the goal is to set up a meeting. And the meetings aren't for you. They're for somebody else. Okay. Like I'm talking like, this is like peak, right? I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah.
It was incredible. And part of what was incredible was the company and the culture and the people. I could talk about that for truly hours. But I learned more about myself and rejection, and talk about a mask. It was such an incredible opportunity. I promise I'll get back to your original question here in a second.
No, it's all good. I love this.
So I was an SDR for a year. And then I moved up to be an account executive, which is the person that receives the meeting, that takes the first meeting, and you ultimately sell deals with big companies, big and small companies. And I was with that company for 7 years, and I was promoted every year until I ended up to be an senior enterprise sales rep, which means I sold software to really, really big companies. And in that 7.5 years, the valuation of the company grew. And by December of 2021, December 2021, that company sold to private equity for $2.3 billion.
Wow.
And it was the ride of a lifetime. I mean, it changed my life. And I often say that there are so many moments in that journey that I'm so proud of. Of course, I'm proud of the professional development and frankly, the courage it took for me to step into an SDR role after I took a pay cut. I was doing things that were way cooler on paper, right? Or to the world than what I was doing when I first got to this company. But along the way, as my stature grew, I also was able to really infuse my own perspective on company policy. And so I was actually the first sales rep to be pregnant. And this was back in 2000. I was pregnant in 2018. Yeah. This is my first baby. And back in 2018, I know it wasn't that long ago, but 2018.
But this is crazy. I mean, this is the times we're living.
Yeah, well, back in 2018, there wasn't a lot of women in sales. There's a lot more now. There certainly weren't a lot of moms in sales. And the maternity leave policy was still very gray. People didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
It was just a very gray area. And so I saw the policy and I saw an opportunity to say, hey, I'd like to be a part of building this in a way that doesn't just set me up for success when I leave, but sets me up for success when I get back. Because the narrative around women in sales isn't that they can't be successful. They can be. They're some of the most successful sales reps I know are women. It's that when you have babies, it's so hard to come back. It's so hard to come back because you're not set up to be successful again. And so then you begin to feel less than, and then you begin to question, do I still have it? Am I still skilled? Was I lucky? I mean, you start doing all of this, this mental gymnastics, justifying all the reasons why you shouldn't be in the workforce, which was heartbreaking to me. I've seen this hundreds of times. And so the company was called, it is still around, Sales Loft. And at Sales Loft, they just gave me this opportunity to be a part of it. And so not only did I help refine it on the front end, when I got pregnant again, I learned a lot from the first time to say, oh, actually, I think we need to tweak this, that, and the other. And so that became a part of my company brand, was not just being this a skilled sales rep, but also kind of leading the charge for more of the women and the moms to give them an opportunity to talk about what their needs were. And to this day, I've just been able to cultivate such incredible relationships. And that was really the stepping stone that showed me what entrepreneurship and what startups could be. You're on a rocket ship. It's magic. It's magic.
I can imagine.
When I was on one.
That's so cool, Jordan. I mean, I just see that experience and how it's reflected in what you're doing now with SupportNow, and just identifying a problem and coming up with a creative solution to fix it. And at that time, it wasn't the time to start a company, right? You were in one, you were on the rocket ship, it was all good, but you did it in a way that felt aligned for you then. Did you ever come up against any gender roles or just feelings of, I don't know, inequity in the workplace? Just curious. I've never worked in a really corporate setting, so.
I didn't. I personally didn't. I know that others did. By nature, I know, I'll be very honest, I've always been kind of a guy's girl. And so sometimes I think maybe I just don't see it because just who I am. Maybe it's the sports girly in me. I've always kind of been fine, just rolling with the boys. And it was a boys club in some ways, but I never felt gender, inequity necessarily. And I do also recognize that my experience, isn't necessarily what someone else felt, right? Those are that is thing. And I do think that technology in general, it has a reputation for a reason, right? Stereotypes in some ways exist for a reason, right? For a long time, technology was just what you would imagine in Silicon Valley, right? Just a whole bunch of young guys that are slinging deals, trying to make as many commission checks as possible, and whoever's in their way, get out of the way. You don't want to get in their way. I didn't, and I will say that the Sales Off was so incredible early on. They really had the foresight to find women in their organization to basically give them a platform to say, okay, what can we do to support you? And it wasn't just maternity leave. It was really everything. And they did such a great job hiring women and promoting women into leadership so early that I never felt like I didn't have a mentor. I always knew I could find someone to talk to. As a whole, I think technology has come a long way. It's still a thing, right? There is still inequity in the workplace, but I can't say that I've honestly experienced it myself. Although I will just say, just by nature of being a mom, you are just you're at a disadvantage when you leave the workforce for 3 to 4 months. and you come back, you're always going to be at a disadvantage. And I don't know that any company can structure things perfectly to where you never feel that. It's just a reality. Like you're going to come back.
Right.
You're going to come back a different person. You're going to be tired. Your mindset's going to be different. Your priorities are going to be different, which means your work inevitably won't ever feel as important as it once was. And that's okay.
Yeah. 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 It's kind of part of it. It's the death rebirth that we go through. I mean, I went through that as well. Working for the most corporate company I ever worked for was a marketing firm, and it still had like a lot of like feminine, like creative energy there. So, but I definitely came back as a mom and I was like, why am I doing this? Like completely jaded by the experience of motherhood and more. So, I love that you were able to like, yes, that inequality exists. And it sounds like you were in a really supportive environment where people were kind of trying to change that paradigm.
They were.
Um,
I would say they were trailblazers. Like they really saw an opportunity to stand out, and because the company was growing so fast, they were trying to attract top talent. It was like, okay, well, if you want to attract top talent, you got to get these things right. They knew how to do it. Like they knew how to do it in unique ways. Like even it sounds so silly, but like the swag they would give out. They used to give out like socks, like men's socks, like socks that you wear under like it with loafers. And I remember like someone brought up to leadership, like, women don't care about socks. Like, can you come up with like other things that would be motivating to women, to us, that would get us excited about like, some sales thing or some. And so they really just like, it's always in the details, right? Like companies can present super inclusive. It's always in the very fine details of what's motivating someone to get up. That's going to make the difference on like if you're women and if anyone in a minority position is going to feel motivated to show up and continuously represent your company and your brand well.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's such a good point, is that it's in the details.
Always in the.
Okay, I want to talk a little bit about motherhood. How do you do it? How do you do motherhood and like be a CEO boss babe? It's not a boss
I have
babe.
help.
You're like boss mom. Yeah, the boss mom thing.
I have help. I mean, I have 3 children. I have a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old. COVID was the hardest part of my motherhood experience so far. I mean, just that feeling of isolation and not being able to leave the house, not being able to like talk to people and just kind of vent. As moms, you need those outlets. I felt like for about a year and a half, I had no outlets. It really like killed part of my soul, I swear. But we are so blessed. We are both sets of our parents live in Atlanta. My parents live 4 or 5 miles away. My husband's parents, my in-laws, live 2 miles away. My sisters all live within 2 miles of me. And the way I do it is family. I mean, in some ways, again, like my faith and being Jewish is like a big part of who I am. Like in some ways, like that is it. Like we just rely on each other. We lean on each other. And we have these really beautiful centers of support that make it possible. It is very, very challenging. I am very tired. I am always tired. Like when people are like, how are you doing? I'm tired. Like that is.
You can have it on your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's true. I am tired. I often say I live life in abundance. So my family life is abundant. I mean, we are always going to birthday parties and weddings and this and funerals now. Like, I mean, it's always something. And I love that because that's like what fills me up. And then with the company, of course, that's also presents an always something situation, whether it's a customer issue, a funding issue, whatever it is. But we really rely on family. I mean, and I'm not afraid to ask for help. I mean, that's my biggest thing. I'll call my in-laws saying, I've had a really hard day. I need a break. Can one of you come over? Or can I drop off a kid? And that's how I do it. I unabashedly admit that I need breaks. I need breaks. I was so fortunate. I actually just got home 2 days ago from London. My mom has been living in London for the last 3 months. She loves the arts. and she was taking, she found an art course in London where you could study at different museums and get a little bit of, you can see how like the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, because this is like a crazy thing. Like, what are you doing? My mom's 6 years old. What are you doing leaving your 7 grandchildren and your 3 daughters? Like, you would come back. He's like, I want to do this. I've never studied abroad. I love this. It's a unique opportunity. I feel like if I don't do it now, I'll never do it. Long story short, I hadn't been abroad in 8 years, and my husband was like, go. Like, you need this trip. Go take this trip. This will be good for you. It's good for your mom. It's good for the kids. The kids need to see you leave so they can also see that you come home.
Yeah.
And I feel like that example, like that trip to London is a real, like, it's like a microcosm of how I try to like live and lead every day by showing my kids I love them. And I have this quote, I don't know, maybe I stole it, but I think it's a quote that I came up with. For some moms, their kids are their whole world. They're their entire universe. For me, my kids are not my entire world. They're the center of my world. They're the center of my universe. And I think those two things are very different. And I hope that they also can find that balance one day for their own children, for their own family.
I like love that quote, because I'm constantly riddled with like mom's guilt. And I think as an entrepreneur, it's hard to create like boundaries. Like, business can go on forever. It like never stops. There's always more work to do. And like our kids are the center of our universe.
That's right.
But not all of it. Okay, so I saw somewhere, I can't remember, I was like creeping on you before this interview, that you believe in karma.
I do.
And so I was wondering if you can just tell us a little bit about karma, and you talked a little bit about your faith, but yeah, how does this all kind of play a role in the way you live your life?
Yeah. I mean, I am a big believer that, character is built in the situations that you can't see. And I often think about my life in reverse. When one day when I die and people are talking about me, like, what would they say? And so when it comes to karma, I mean, I'm just, even from my children to SupportNow, I try at my very best to make decisions based off of like, what is a character-led decision? And the hope, the belief that I have is that ultimately, even if it's a short-term loss, that in the long term, it's a gain for me, for my family, for my community, for others. When you're in a position like I am, where you have to make difficult decisions every day, and a lot of times it's business, it's not personal, right? It's easy to slip into the mindset of doing what's easy. Saying what people want to hear, doing what people want you to do, even if deep down it's not best for, in this case, the company or things like of that sort. And I just like to believe that ultimately karma will play a role in not just the success of our company, but just in the way that people will view me at the end of my life.
Yeah. I love that. I love that you're asking yourself the question about how do I want to be remembered? I'm big on that. Karma, what goes around comes around. Okay, I need to sneak one more question in. But like what's like your quick gut check for like character-based decisions? Like, do you have like a set of core values, or just like a quick like how do you know if it's like, yes, I could go the easy route, or what's actually an integrity for Jordan?
It's funny. I feel like it's like physical for me. I know.
Where do you feel it?
I feel it in my gut.
Okay.
I feel it in my gut. I know when I'm like, it's so many, this happens to everybody, right? Whether it's you're in a leadership role or not, where you want to say yes. People
pleaser.
Sure. Yeah. Yes, I want to do this sponsorship, or, oh yeah. And it's like, no. I mean, ultimately what I ask myself is, if I was in the other, like kind of like the roles were flipped. And I also think about, one day when God willing, when I'm a grandma and I'm watching my kids and hopefully working, if they choose to work professionally, how I would want them to approach certain situations.
I love
And
that.
so you just kind of have to lead. And I will tell you, the most brilliant person I know at radical candor and radical transparency, which to me is all kind of intertwined with this, is my husband.
Yeah.
My husband has had the most uncomfortable situations in his life. And I've really admired the way that he navigates this. I've drawn so much inspiration from Scott on this. And this is where you want to marry someone that makes you better. Like he makes me better because I've seen how he chooses to talk. And a quote that he uses from a cousin of his, a late cousin, was like, when you do the right thing, you never have to worry about what people are going to say about you.
Yeah.
And I just always think about that.
It's so true.
When you do the right thing, you never have to worry about what people say about you. And I know, I have enough conviction and confidence in my values to know that if someone gets upset with me at this point, it's not like I hate being like, it's a them problem, but I know I'm doing what's right for, if it's for the company, I'm doing what's right for the company, which doesn't always align with, someone else. And that doesn't make it comfortable. That doesn't make me happy. It just means when you're an owner of something, you have to make difficult decisions every single day. And those little decisions add up to be the big things that make a difference.
This is so good, Jordan. It really is, because what I'm hearing you say is it's all about coming back home to your core, whether it's your core in a personal decision or in your business. It's like, what do I stand for? Because you're inevitably going to piss somebody off, right? Someone is going to judge you, and you can either cave into those judgments or try to make everybody happy, but it's at the cost of abandoning yourself. Right. And so, yeah, it's just like being in right relationship with yourself. And maybe we need to have Scott on the podcast to give us
I'm telling you, he's amazing.
Radical honesty.
He's amazing. I mean, we have a rule in our marriage. Like, we operate in radical candor. Like, we don't let things linger. If there's anything that's upsetting us, nothing lingers. If I see he's in a not in a great mood or vice versa, it's like, okay, what is it? Let's talk it out. And boom, you get over it. And now we're on to the next thing. And it's just it leads to a really healthy marriage, because we're so aligned on the big things. It's like, don't let the little things get in the way.
Yeah. And so many couples are afraid to say what is actually true and alive out of fear that they're going to be rejected, abandoned, not met with validation. And that all stems back to all the childhood stuff.
Totally.
But you've done your work. Scott has too. So sounds good.
I'm lucky. I married a man who's very emotionally intelligent. And, again, we're cut from the same cloth. And so it makes it's nice when you go through life with someone that sees the world the same way.
I couldn't agree more. I love that. I'm working on manifesting my king.
Yes, your king. There you go.
He's coming. All right. Well, I could talk to you about all these things forever. I want to just know if we could summarize all of your experience to support someone who, was a former version of yourself, maybe 10 years ago, let's say, who has this vision, who sees a gap in the current situation and needs just a little fire under his butt to just actually go for it and do it.
Oh, yeah. There's so many things I would tell that person. I think one of the biggest things I've learned is that you create life. No one's going to create it for you. I think we often at least me, I used to go to the movies or watch television and see people living out these big dreams and, kind of this very romanticized version of life. Mm-hmm. And it's a trap, because it makes you believe that if you just follow certain steps, it's going to get you to where you want to go. And that's not really how it is. You have to pursue life. You have to pursue the things that you want. Sure, certain things will come to you, but it comes to you as a result of the effort and the energies you put out there. And so what I would say to that person is, if you have that inclination, great. What are you going to do about it? And again, it's not doing everything. It's starting with like increments. Just start incrementally working towards whatever that might be. Again, that could go for a relationship, that could be a company, that could be anything. But one of the things one of the hardest truths I've had as an adult, as a mom, is realizing that things aren't just going to happen. You have to make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that advice. And it makes me go back to like Ian dying and thinking, well, it is what it is and it'll be what you make it. And it's the same thing with life. And sometimes you kind of wait around thinking like, oh, the universe is going to guide me here, guide me there. And it's like, it's a dance, it's a co-creation, and we're so much more powerful than we think. So I love that.
That's right.
Have the vision, actually go after it and paint the fucking picture.
That's right.
All right. Well, Jordan, where can people find you? Where can they learn more about SupportNow?
So first of all, thank you so much for the opportunity. I enjoyed this so much. There's so many places you can, if you want to explore SupportNow, supportnow.org. You can also follow us on Instagram, which is supportnow_org. I'm also on LinkedIn if anyone wants to connect with me there. And our DMs are always open. You know, our passion is serving families. So if you know someone that's going through something hard and you think that SupportNow could be a good tool to rally the community, let us know. We'd be happy to serve them.
I love it. Thank you so much, Jordan. I'm celebrating you in everything that you've accomplished, and I'm so grateful that you're doing the work that you're doing.
Thank you, Emily.
Thanks. Thank you so much for listening in to It's Just Me, Emily. I hope that you enjoyed the show. If you did, it would be a great honor if you could subscribe and then leave a review. And if you do so, I will send you a beautiful hardback copy of my book, Love and Grief, to the first 20 people who subscribe and leave a review. When you do that, it just helps my podcast get boosted and more people will be able to come in and view the show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you in another episode.